Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson, and with me today is a special guest.
Hello, I'm Brittany Messerly.
Hi, Brittany. You've been with us before. You're actually part of the
Yes.
StreamingChurch.tv team, and you're here today because Steve Lacey, my normal partner in crime, is on a boat somewhere with
Yep.
his wife in the middle of the ocean.
Yep. He decided that it was okay for him to take a vacation.
That's right. It's just our busiest time of the year. No worries
Yeah.
there. But have you ever taken a cruise before?
I actually haven't. It's on my list. I want to.
Yeah, absolutely. You should. I've taken two cruises, but it's been
Oh, wow.
years ago. Yeah, it's been years. It's been a long time, and my wife is actually trying to get me to go on another one. And I keep hearing all these things about people getting sick and
Mm,
flu and all that stuff. I don't know,
yeah.
so it kind of scares me a little bit, but she'll probably convince me. So anyhow, well, you ought to go. I mean, it was a fun experience. I did two of them, and I've done both of them were great experiences. So yeah, you definitely need to do that, Brittany.
Yeah.
So
I just want the buffet, really. But
exactly, yes. All right, so we're a company that helps churches and ministries use tech. And today we are going to talk about 7 ways, or maybe more, 7 ways to attract and keep your share of Easter visitors.
mhm.
And this is, and by the way, I don't know if you got this email, but we have a blog called newmediaministries.tv. In case anybody listening or watching hasn't checked that out, just go to newmediaministries.tv. And we posted something about Easter coming up, and somebody sent off something to us, a reply saying, Easter's not a Christian holiday. Did you get that at all?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe you didn't get that, but and we're not here to debate today if Easter is a Christian holiday or not.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
well, honestly, he or she, whoever it was, had a point
Mm.
because there are some things about Easter that may have some pagan roots to
Mm.
them, maybe a little bit.
Oh, I
Uh,
have heard that before.
yeah, the Easter eggs and the Easter bunny and all that good stuff. But we're not here to debate that. But the truth is, I mean, I've worked with some churches that call it, instead of calling it Easter, they call it Resurrection Day,
Mm.
and so
Right.
that's something you could call it. But I mean, the point of this holiday, whether Christians have like hijacked the
Maybe
holiday, or
taking
whatever.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the point is, it's a great opportunity, first of all, to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, but also, as we're going to talk about today, there are people that will come to Easter, your Easter services, that might not normally come. They will come because of the holiday Easter and also Christmas. In fact, that brings us to a new word in my vocabulary.
Hmm.
The new word is Creaster. Creaster. Have you ever heard of that before?
I have not, but I love it now. I think it's a great term.
So Creaster, and somebody, I read something about this, and in the Urban Dictionary, we all know how,
How
uh,
accurate that is,
yeah, uh,
always.
but the Urban Dictionary defines Creaster as people who show up to church only twice a year. And of course, those two holidays are
Christmas and Easter.
Christmas and Easter, hence the word Creaster. And look, I know that seems a little strange, but there's kind of a good reason to pay attention to these folks because according to Lifeway did some research a while back, and they said Americans are more open to matters of faith during Easter and the Christmas season.
Hmm.
In fact, they did a survey a number of years ago that said 47% of those um, polled confirmed that they were more open to faith during the holidays. And that's interesting. And you can contrast that with some other stats, like when 9/11 hit the United States of America, the national crisis that we experienced on September 11th. Only 38% indicated they were more open to spiritual things after that. And then there was another survey about after any natural disaster, 34% uh, are open to spiritual things. And then here's another one: the birth of a child, only 28% were more open to matters of faith. So, what's the big idea here, the big picture here, or the lesson? Well, there's no better time than the holidays to reach people. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is that, and you don't have to be a pastor to get something out of this Church Solutions podcast, because what we're going to talk about not only involves pastors, but if you're a key volunteer, if you're involved in your church in some capacity, this is something I think should attract your attention. If you love your church and you want to see it grow and reach people, this Easter is a great opportunity. And Easter is April 21st of 2019. And so it's coming up. Mm-hmm. So some things we can talk about here. So why don't we just jump into this? Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So again, a large percentage of people during this time of the year and Easter are very open to visiting a church. And so the odds are, in your favor that you're going to get maybe somebody. And so there's some things you can do here to help effectively attract some of these people that are interested, and also hopefully keep them once they come and visit. So the first thing is something that you kind of, Brittany, this is kind of your area of expertise. Mm-hmm. The first thing you want to do as a church or involved in your ministry is you want to make them aware of your church.
Right. Yeah, not everyone knows that your church exists, obviously. And that's one of the first components to get them to your church is first market to them and make them aware that your church exists and what your church stands for. I know at the last podcast I was on, we talked about branding of your church. So that's very important, is to kind of cut through the other churches in the area and make sure that your church is identified for your brand and what you stand for and what your church is kind of known for, and get that out into your community. Make sure you can use flyers, you can use digital means to be active on social. Just make sure that you are making your kind of footprint in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's a lot of noise out there, but as you just said, Brittany, it's important that, you kind of get who you are out there, because the chances are your church is going to be a little different than somebody else's church. Right. And so emphasize those kind of things, who you are, what might be a different denomination, you might be non-denominational. And the truth is, there's lots of things to do here. Social media is your expertise, and there's obviously a ton of platforms out there that you can use: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And
really utilize what makes you unique. Like if you do lots of music, or if you're really musical, you love your church choir, or how your preacher or your pastor speaks. There's all these different kinds of ways you can connect people with your identity as your church.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there are some good old-fashioned things that I think still have value. Many years ago, when I was a senior pastor, and even as an executive pastor, we did mailers. Outreach marketing years ago had some, and I'm sure they still do, some really nice little postcards that you can target your area. So you can work it out where it goes to a certain zone. And this is, good old fashioned snail mail. Right. But the postcards actually work. I remember I tried it several times. And one of the ones that really made us stand out was there was this picture of this like English bulldog licking this gal's face. It was like a zoom in, and it was, really a fun looking thing, and the girls like, and the headline on the postcard was, we're kind of like this, only not as sloppy. And the idea was, we want to love you. We want to be friendly. Right. That's who we are as a church.
Right. And that's a great,
got a lot of response from that postcard.
No, that's great, because it mixes kind of humor with then showing like how loving the church is and what you guys stand for.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Great. I think I used it and used the image of it on my church that I'm working with now years ago. But yeah, so anyway, and so you got, and there's also little things like, look, the newspapers maybe are not the best way to go these days, but there's these little shopper. We used to have a thing called the Dandy Dime that would come. Would have like ads and stuff people were selling, cars and stuff, but you could get you could get something, and there's a group I worked with years ago that kind of built our church on it. We had a front page of the shopper or a back page of the shopper, and we wanted the front or the back because people would get it in the mail and they would just throw it down on their coffee table. But if your ad was on the front or the back, it was, pretty easily seen, and we got a lot of traction for that. So there's lots of opportunities, radio ads, if you can make something that stands out. I was in broadcasting for years, so I was able to do that. And here's another thing too. Signage is good. If you have a sign in your church, you can make it maybe something that's going to stand out when people drive by.
Yes, creative signs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even banners. I still do this today. I've gotten banners, and you can put up a banner that's next to your sign or somewhere else on your church property, and make it so that it stands out, and those kind of things can really help. So the first point is, make them aware of your church, because believe it or not everybody's aware of your church.
Exactly.
So, good opportunity to do on Easter. All right, so let's move on to number 2. What's number 2? Do you have the notes?
Yes. Number 2 is making it convenient.
Yeah.
So don't schedule during the big football game that everyone in town's going to be watching.
Yeah. And this applies. Look, if your church is going to have multiple services, and there are some churches they have one service or two, but then they have some extra services because Easter does come, and they're coming. So be careful how you schedule. I even know some churches that, even though Easter is Easter Sunday, they will do something Saturday night, and that's appropriate. And then the other thing to think about when it comes to making it convenient is, and this kind of, I don't know if this fits in the category or not, but one of the churches I used to work with, we had a thing where we would do an Easter egg hunt. Talk about pagan, but we would do an Easter egg hunt, and here's the deal: parents want to take their kids to something, and so if you can advertise your Easter egg hunt and schedule it conveniently, either maybe before the service or after the service, might be better. Easter egg, another one time we had a little Easter party. So after the service, we had actually some food. We had a barbecue, and we had bouncy castles and some,
wow,
I call them carnival. I don't know if you want to call them carnival related things, but little things that were, you could blow up floats and stuff that kids could bounce around on. And so, you want to, if you're going to do special events for Easter, and you probably should, if you can do it, do it. Make it convenient,
right,
is the bottom line. You don't want to try to, make it hard for people to come. So
right. And
that
also makes it convenient more for the parents, because you can have an Easter egg hunt, you can do a kind of potluck thing, and if you don't have it, you could either have these events on Easter, or you could have them kind of a lead up. Different events, maybe like the week before, or kind of a lead up to Easter.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So the third point is to start early. So we're talking about reaching people. And so, we're still in March recording this podcast. I think it's March 21st today. But, Easter's a month away here in 2019. And so you've got a month here. So get cracking, get starting on it. So, I use the analogy, I raised a son, and I ask him to do something, and he would rarely do it the first time. and I think those of us that have had kids know that, it usually takes several encouraging, prompting things to get kids to kind of do and move in the right direction. And it's kind of the same way for humans. Kids are human, obviously, little humans, at least some of them are. And, humans are the same way. Adults are the same way. Sometimes we need to hear something over and over again.
Right.
In fact, I think I read a survey years ago that people need to hear the gospel at least 7 times before they respond to it. And I think it was something Billy Graham or something said. So I think that's true. So start early. So that's one of the reasons we're talking about this on our podcast is, you could do several things to do that. Start your advertising, whatever it is you're going to decide to do to get the word out, start moving on it now. Even your messages, if you're a pastor listening or you're on your church board, maybe encourage, your pastor to start maybe a series or something now that's kind of related to Easter.
Yeah.
that kind of gets the ball rolling a little bit and starts everything. And so, yeah, so start early. So anything to add to that at all, Miss Marketing Person?
Well, yeah, I mean, starting your marketing efforts as well early is very, like, if you're going to do a big thing for Easter, or you're going to things surrounding Easter, starting the marketing now, getting the word out about it happening so you can get on people's calendars.
Yep.
And yeah, just like you were saying, basically about starting the process early, starting to get your sermon, everything ready early is, yeah.
And this is kind of the, it's a month out from when we're recording this. So when people hear this, maybe in another day or two, get moving on. All right.
Yeah, about a month before. That's when, you should kind of, you can make a calendar and kind of schedule everything out until the big day.
Yep. It's scheduling. All right. So third point here, the fourth point that we're getting at here when it comes to being more effective in reaching people and keeping them, you want to be able to figure out a way to get their information, get their personal information. So when they do come in the door, hopefully you have some kind of a visitor card or a communication card is what my church calls it, or a connection card. But it's really a matter of, and this is my opinion, is you don't want to, like really force people, like give us your information. We don't, that's not what we're talking about here, but you want to make it so they have an opportunity to give you some contact information. And I would personally say the vital information, but not a lot. So, I mean, if you can get their email, that would be ideal. If you can get a name and an email, maybe a phone number, maybe, but at least start with some way that you can connect with them. That's really important, because when they do come, you want to be able to follow up. And we've talked a lot about follow up, and we're going to talk about follow up
more
in a couple minutes here. But, you want to follow up. Well, it's kind of hard to do it when you don't know who they are or where they came from or any of that stuff. So very important stuff.
And make sure they know that it's why you want their information, that you want it so that you can keep in contact with them about the different services you're going to be doing, to keep them included in the community, that you're not going to make sure they know you're not going to spam them with anything, or that it's really just so that they're aware of what you'll be doing as a church, and that you can send them different follow-up information, which we'll cover in a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving on here, we want to get to go through this stuff. Yes. So this kind of connects, I think, a little bit with the getting their personal information, and that is when they do come, maybe give them a gift. It would be nice, some kind of a gift. I don't know. Get creative. Think a little bit about this. I mean,
just a little welcome gift. Yeah. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just something nice that shows that you appreciate that they came, and little visitor gift.
Yeah, and that could be anything. My church, I think, has some kind of little gift bag that has some bread and chocolate in it or something. It's got our logo, our church logo on it. We also have T-shirts. We've given away. My church has some T-shirts, and we've given people T-shirts. One church I used to work with gave people coffee mugs. Some people give away Starbucks gift cards. Yeah. So there are some things you could do to give them a little gift and kind of help them to remember who you are. A little card, maybe saying, "Hey, thanks for coming. We're glad you came. Let us know if we can pray for you, or if there's something we can do for you." That kind of a thing. A gift can go a long way. And as you said, Brittany, doesn't have to be a big deal. Doesn't have to be big. So, all right. So let's go to the next one, which is follow up.
Yes.
Follow up. All right. So I'm really not in sales per se. I mean, I work with streamingchurch.tv, and I help in the area of sales and tech support. But I remember years ago, a friend of mine in sales, I used to be in radio and broadcasting, and again, I wasn't in sales and radio. I was more in the production end of things and management. But one of my friends said one time, he goes, "Look, I think I heard it in a sales meeting. He says, look, if you just return people's phone calls, you will be more successful than the next guy." And I think it goes on. Those little things can really make you more successful in anything you do in life if you just do the things that some people just are too lazy to do. And I think with follow-up, I think it's kind of the same way. If you will just make an effort to
Mm-hmm.
follow up people. So if you're a volunteer listening to this podcast and your church doesn't have a follow-up program, guess what? You're the person, since you've heard this now, you're
Mm-hmm.
responsible. But I'm kind of kidding. But seriously, there
Right.
should be some kind of a strategy, some kind of a system. And if you'll just shoot people an email, maybe, or if you
Mm-hmm.
can call them, even if they go in the voicemail, at least they got the message and they know, well, this
Right.
person may not want to talk to you, but at least, hey, at least they care, right?
Right. And if you are signed up with streamingchurch.tv, we have a wonderful follow-up tool that makes it really easy so that people that have visited either in your church or have streamed online, that if you get their emails, then we can send automatic emails to them basically as follow-ups. You can kind of design what it says. It can be really simple, but basically a follow-up automatically so that you don't have to do it every
Yeah.
time manually.
Yeah, you can customize it once and send it off. And that's with people that come to, if you stream with us, you
Right.
have a streaming video platform with, you can have chat and video and all that. And so when people come, that you can follow up with them. And that's something that we probably didn't say earlier, but that is, when you're getting ready and trying to make people aware of your church, part of that is a good method to use is streaming video.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it on your website, you can stream live. I think in our blog we talked about how people really do want to watch live video, and you can have live video on your website, and you can have archives on your website. And again, it's another
Yeah.
way to make people aware of your church.
Right.
And
It's a
then
great way to promote.
and then
Yeah.
this follow up thing that we are just talking about. For video, we've got that tool that people can use. But if people are literally walking into your physical building, make sure you follow up with them.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, if you've got some kind of information, that would be good. Okay, we're running out of time, so let's move on here, right? All right, give them a reason. Point number 7: give them a reason to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I have been to churches where I visited and there was no reason to come back. In fact, no, I don't back here. But what I mean by that is when these what do we call them? Creasters,
Mm-hmm.
when people that come for 1 or 2 services a year, and this probably applies more to the person speaking, although your volunteers and staff can be a part of this. Let them know that there's things coming up. That there are maybe a message series that they might be interested in. Maybe about relationships or about kids. So maybe, if you don't have something that, if you're planning something for Easter, make sure you have something coming up after Easter that would really be a good hook to somebody comes for the first time and go, hey, and next week we're going to talk about, how to deal with stress in your life and how to handle whatever. And something that's going to attract people, what the Bible says about raising kids or maybe marriage, some kind of a thing that might grab the person's attention and say, you know what, I should probably come back and listen to this message series and be a part of that. They need a reason to come back. And I think that's really important. Give them the benefits of being a part of a local church. The relationships, the community, having somebody there to help you with your children, help you with your life. That's the value of church. So, all right. So, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Did you have something?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, that was very well said. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. So we're running out of time here, but we mentioned streaming video earlier, and it's a shameless plug, as Steve would say. And we've actually got something that might help your church for Easter. And we've got a little Easter special going on with streamingchurch.tv. Can you give us a little bit of information on what that is, Brittany?
Yes. So, well, I'm going to do 2 little plugs for a moment. But first of all, we're doing a promotion that if you haven't signed up with us before and you want to try us out, we do have a 30-day free trial.
That's a good opportunity. Go ahead.
And so we have a 30-day free trial, which is perfect since we're right before Easter. And if you sign up for it, we will also send you a $25 either Starbucks card or you can talk to Phil about some other options for gift cards. He'd be happy to share those as well. And then we're also going to be doing a webinar. So
That's right. Yeah.
I think if on the podcast, if we can put a little link in the description,
Right.
For where you can go sign up for the webinar, or if you're signed up on our email list, you'll get emails about it. But yeah, so it'll be more about how to make, well, basically how to grow your impact during the Easter season.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, two things there. So something that the webinar would be really helpful. It's about a half hour long or so, and that will be coming up here early April. I think we're doing it.
We're doing it the 2nd. Yeah.
2nd of April. So,
yes. So very soon.
Yeah. So just go to streamingchurch.tv for that. Or if you need more information on that, or if you want to do the free trial, if you've never done a free trial with us and you want to do that, as Brittany said, Starbucks gift card or something comparable to that, we'd love to have you give us a try and stream and see, because we think it really will help your church grow. It will help what you're trying to do. We've seen it already happen, and we've been doing this for we've been doing the streaming for almost 10 years, and we've been working with churches almost 20 now. Wow, almost 19 years. And so we love churches, and we love helping churches, and that's kind of what we do here. So with that in mind, we're out of time, Brittany.
Well, there we go.
There you go. Well, thanks for sitting in with me, instead of Steve. Steve Lacey will be back here next week. And if you have something to add to this list that we talked about, or you want some input, if you have questions, the email would just simply be support@streamingchurch.tv. And again, we'd love to get your key takeaway here. We'd love to get some feedback from you, and that would be wonderful. So with that in mind, I will let you go back to work, Brittany, and I'll get back to work. And folks, thank you so much for listening to the Church Solutions podcast. That's Brittany Messerly. I'm Phil Thompson. I hope that you have a great day. We'll catch you next time on another edition of the Church Solutions podcast.
Bye-bye.